Hi, my name is Lilia Kirilenka and this is SBR Made Easy podcast. And you might have noticed that I have a different background because what I would like to do, I would like to show you some of the techniques that are going to be essential for your SBR exam. And I talked about them on my LinkedIn, but I would also like to make it audible so that those people that find it harder to read could listen to, or maybe when you are commuting or have your ears spare vacant. So I would like to talk to you about marking your own answers, because one of the great problems that people have is that they think they are scoring marks, but in fact they don't. And it happens so very often that a person says, okay, I have studied the syllabus. Why did I get 45 or 49 marks? Well, let's figure it out. If you were to ask me how to mark your own answer, and if you were a tutor, I would say, well, if you are an official tutor and you are in ACCA's community, which is called Educators Hub, and probably you need to be a part of Gold or Platinum Learning Provider for that, then you need to go through tutor development program that has been developed by ACCA. So in there, you are going to watch videos on how to teach. You are going to have access to lots of exam-related materials, to mocks, to the support to mocks, to videos on how to mock the mocks, and so on. And of course, you would need to go through examiner reports for at least 15 sessions or even more. Well, because you just need to get used to what are the problems that students have, how did they lose marks, how did they get marks, and so on. And of course, we need to read multiple marking schemes in order to just get this experience of what gets marks, marked, and what doesn't. But you are not a tutor, right? So here is what you need to do. First of all, you need to learn to justify, because if you get this skill, if you learn how to justify, you are going to spot the very issues that you have made in your answer. It's like when you know how to cook and you know how, let's say, pancakes are supposed to look like, you will be able to assess somebody else's cooking abilities. So to get a mark, you need to copy and paste the issue from the scenario, say what it means in terms of the theory, and give a counting conclusion. It is important for you to remember that, because it's not only about debits and credits, and sometimes we have questions that are not about debits and credits at all. So it is important to get this very skill and remember that there are 3 parts in your answer in a single mark. Let me give you an example. So imagine that we have a scenario and a company bought some property plant equipment, and there you are provided with numbers. You can't just say that the company will capitalize 10,000. You can't even say that, okay, there will be debit like that, credit like that. No, you need to explain. So first of all, you are going to copy-paste or retype this very part from the scenario. So the company spent 10,000 teaching employees to use the machinery. Then you are going to say what it means. However, this is not the cost that is needed to bring the asset to the condition or location. So this is an explanation, and this is something that you would naturally see on a presentation slide that would prepare you for this exam. So, for example, you would have a slide which would list which costs can be capitalized, and there will be like 2 lines, condition, location. So that is what you need to explain. And then you give a counting conclusion, so what to do, so to expense them or to capitalize them. And it has to be the 3 parts. So you can't just say that the company spent 10,000 teaching employees and this cost has to be capitalized, because you need to explain. You can't say, according to IAS 16, the teaching cost should be capitalized, because when a person opens IAS 16 and tries to control F within this standard, they will not find that teaching, education, whatever costs need to be capitalized or expensed or whatever, right? So again, copy-paste. The company spent 10,000 teaching employees, part from the standard, part from the presentation. So not the cost that are needed to bring the asset to the conditional location. And conclusion, should be expensed. Similar example. So we have a question. This was Cummins, I think, something like that. And there we were told that the company pays salaries in dinars. And we can't just say, so dinars could be a functional currency. We need to talk about the standard, and the standard is going to list the issues, the flags that would indicate that this is a functional currency. So they would say, oh, this is something that influences the prices, the cost, and so on. So you're going to explain that employees' cost is a significant part of companies' expenses. So dinars could be a functional currency. It could be a functional currency because in loan questions, we always have this two-handed accounting technique. And we say on one hand, yes, on the other hand, no. It could be dinars, it could be dollars, it could be dinars, it could be dollars. Who cares? The company pays taxes in dinars. Tax is just one of the costs and often is not the largest. So dinar is not necessarily a functional currency of ABC company. See what I mean? There has to be explanations. Of course, you don't write them using the bullet points, but you need to use the 3-step approach. Then you need to make sure that you allocate the marks properly. First of all, please remember that there cannot be a 0.5 mark. It's either you justified or you have not justified. So in the 3 previous examples, there would be 1 mark each example, not per each and every bullet point, no, like 1 mark each, since it was just one explained idea. And of course, you don't use bullet points, it's going to be written as a sentence. So no 0.5 marks, not in this very exam. 0.5 marks are going to be met in a very, very limited number of exams, like let's say audit and assurance, not in SBR. Can it be 2 marks? Yes, if there will be 2 justified points and they have to be separate. So whatever we wrote there is just one idea explained. How many marks does this sentence bring? The bonds will be originally recognized at 100 million. Most likely it's not going to bring you anything because you are not explaining why 100 million. You need to give an explanation. And the explanation is that according to IFRS 9, our financial instruments are recognized at fair value. Not at how much we paid, not at how much we received, no, at fair value. So for example, if you were to give your employee interest-free or low-interest loan, then you would actually recognize loss on the initial recognition. You would recognize not at the money transferred, but at the fair value. So make sure that each and every number has its name at fair value, at cost. How many sentences should I write per mark? Oh, I get this question a lot. It's never about sentences. It's never about lines. It's about justification. But we need to understand that with the strategic papers, people usually are very short in time. So this means that the more you write for your first question, the less time you have for your last question, number 3 or number 4, whatever the exam is. So we try to teach ourselves during our preparation stage to be short, to use 2-3 lines per mark, not 5 to 6. That's why, for example, with my students, I always tell them, okay, this is an empty sentence, delete. I always mark when some parts of their answer are not efficient. Because when you learn to be this mark earning machine, you can actually finish the exam in time. And I will tell you a funny fact. So in my revision course, I attempt the full paper and I spent something like 170 minutes. Not 195 as you are allowed in the exam, but 170. And it's not only about just typing the answer. So I read the scenario. I say, okay, this means this means that. I explain bits of the theory and still I can attempt the pass rate, the marks that we need to attempt, and I can explain and not even spend the full time allocated to this exam. And that is what I want to teach you. Now, do you need to remember the names of the standards like IAS 36, impairment of assets, IFRS 15, revenue from contracts? No, just numbers will be okay. But make sure that you not just put the number like 36 or 15, but also whether it's IAS or IFRS. Because IAS 2 is about inventories. IAS 2 is about inventories. IFRS 2 is going to be about share-based payments. Do I get marks for listing requirements of the standard? Nope, unless they are tied to the scenario and to the requirement. So, for example, if we would have the requirement would be the directors would like to know whether property, plant, equipment should be impaired, and the answer that the impairment should be first allocated against the assets with the evidence of the impairment, then goodwill and so on, would not bring you marks because it's not what is asked. But if we would have the same requirement and we would talk about that the asset needs to be tested for the impairment when there are either internal or external indicators of the impairment, that is a part of the standard and it would bring a mark. Or another great example, when we have a question whether something is a purchase of a business and it has to be consolidated, or a purchase of an asset and it has to be recognized as an asset. And in this very case, we are given marks for listing the requirements. There should be inputs, processes, and outputs, because later we are going to challenge them. Another example, the requirement. The directors would like to know whether the purchase of lot is a purchase of a business or of an asset. The answer, the components of a business will consist of inputs, processes which have the ability to create outputs. Inputs are economic resources which have the ability to create outputs when one or more processes are applied to them. This will score a mark, since later you are going to challenge whether there are any inputs or not. So yes, and how do I apply that in practice? So I have an SBR course, fantastic, visualize the theory, is remembered quite easily because it's like all pictures and something that uses the modern technology of teaching busy adults. And you will see lots of examples of how marks are earned and why. And my job is to teach you how to see the answer in the scenario itself, and how to attempt the question and pass, even if you don't really understand it, even if it turns out that you missed this part of the syllabus, because let's face it, you are an adult, so your time is limited. So join my SBR course, either enhanced tuition or revision, whatever stage you are at. You can text me on LinkedIn and we can discuss that. Or you can contact me for personal tuition of other papers which allow you to get ready within more or less 15 classes. And if you are a person with multiple failures, this may be your chance to actually stop failing and finally finish ACCA, get qualified, and move on with your life. So thank you for watching this video, and please subscribe to my LinkedIn profile. Everything is in the description, because I love to post educational content that could be of value to anyone that takes ACCA exams. Bye.